Every generation has its fair share of difficult games, some more than others, but most of them come down to a single or multiple bosses that truly test the strengths of a player. Unfortunately, in the making of this list, we found through our experience with this generation, there aren't many standout boss fights. So today, we're going to be counting down the top 5 best bosses of this generation. For this list, we're considering one per franchise per game, and evaluating the bosses on their uniqueness of mechanics, challenge, and overall weight within the narrative being told, if it's applicable. Be warned, spoilers ahead. With that being said, let's get going. After the lackluster boss battles from the previous titles in the series, Uncharted 4's ending boss battle is beautiful and stands out among the best. Not only does it stand out with its unique location, being an eerie ship port buried inside a mountainside, surrounded by ships of a past time, Nathan Drake, an antagonist of the game, Wraith Adler, duke it out in a sword fight surrounded by flames that continue to engulf the ship they're trapped in. Gold, treasures, and currency are tossed and thrown around as the two engage in sword combat in similar ways to Pirates of the Past would. An undertone of the whole game that reaches a culmination in this boss fight. You're not fighting freak monsters or picking up blue goo or avoiding a collapse, running away from it like other fights Nathan has endured. This is a straight up melee fight that goes against what the game's core way of combat is, being a third-person shooter. But above all else, it directly reflects the narrative being told through the treasure hunt, and we're fairly certain the pirate captain James Avery would be impressed. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order adapts the Soulsborne combat system to great effect. The weighty feeling of a lightsaber makes for a great translation to the patient, parry-focused style of From Software games. Apart from the cursed yet optional Ogdo-Bogdo fight and the occasional run-in with the second sister, players weren't really challenged until they faced off against Terran Malicos. Malicos' speed and ferocity makes this battle especially grueling. On top of that, Malicos' use of the Force offers some deadly tactics that are hard to predict and avoid. He'll occasionally throw his second lightsaber in the air, only to continue attacking, and eventually bring his airborne lightsaber down to attack you at random. Even as Night Sister Merrin joins your side about halfway through the battle, Malicos attempts to adapt and bolster his already dangerous Force abilities. The fight against Malicos requires every trick up your sleeve that you've learned so far, and it's easily the standout battle of Fallen Order. Final Fantasy VII Remake, being part 1 of a greater remake initiative, had many people questioning how the game would end. Would it be when the gang leaves Midgar? Would we get to a new location? Would we be fighting Sephiroth? And as the game ramps up in its final hour, it's clear to see that there are new things that we did not expect going into Final Fantasy VII, much like fighting Sephiroth. As the game ramps up, continuing to progress the storyline of the Ancients and learning more about Jenova, Sephiroth becomes more and more of a present threat. Sephiroth has been teased as an antagonist throughout the game, showcasing that he has a greater threat than what's going on with Shinra. After an incredibly bombastic, showy fight with Fate, Cloud and your party face off against Sephiroth in a thrilling one-on-one sort of way. Sephiroth's speed, movements, and attacks give you little time for error, and incentivizes players to frequently use the ATB menus. Progressing through the fight as Cloud, slowly regaining members of your party, and using every trick up your sleeve that you've learned throughout the game is why Sephiroth stands out as a boss that is excellent of this generation, and why we can't wait to fight him again on the PS5. Marvel's Spider-Man nails pretty much everything about everyone's favorite wall crawler. Everything from the feel of the combat to Spidey's witty banter is nearly perfect, and it's especially on display in the Vulture Electro fight near the end of the game. In most gaming boss battles, the player focuses on one villain, learning and adapting to their combat style as the fight progresses. In this battle, you're tasked with juggling two challenging villains with their own unique fighting styles. In classic Insomniac style, players have to constantly stay in motion mid-air as they use everything in their arsenal to defeat the villains. Even as Spider-Man is cornered and outnumbered, he still retains his comedic sensibilities. He makes Rocky references and other quips throughout the fight, adding some much-needed levity to the daunting task at hand. It may not be brutally challenging as a fight, but its satisfying gameplay and lightheartedness make it a memorable section of the game. And now for some honorable mentions.
I'll make it quick. We were friends a lifetime ago.
Go down.
From Software's mastery of difficulty has been showcased since Demon's Souls were released on the PlayStation 3. We've seen them really flex with what they can do when it comes to challenge, boss diversity, design, and overall intimidation. For us, however, nothing struck a chord as strong as it did with Bloodborne. Bloodborne's world, aesthetic, level design, atmosphere is all excellent, but what happens at the end of the game is truly the culmination of your long, grueling nightmare. The final set piece of the game takes place in the Hunter's Dream, giving players the choice of one or two options. You either choose to submit to Gehrman, your job being complete, allowing you to wake up and live another day, the cutscene ending, or you can choose to defy Gehrman and vow to take his place, but the first step is killing him. Gehrman stands out among the pool of bosses in Bloodborne as few others do. Many other bosses in Bloodborne, like the Celestial Emissary, Abritus, or Vicar Amelia, are horrifying beasts. But Gehrman is a person. More importantly, Gehrman is a hunter. Gehrman pushes you further than any other boss does. Much like yourself, a skilled hunter who conquered the hunt, Gehrman acts as a reflection of your own skill. He's intense, he's fast, he's unrelenting. He's already intense enough, but those that truly want to feel a challenge can fight another boss immediately after. But we'll save that for another list. Well, there you have it. Those are our top 5 best bosses of this generation. Like I said at the top, we did some discussion throughout the planning, and although this generation is really great when it comes to just boss design or level design in general, there were few that stood out the way that our 5 choices did. Please let us know down below, what do you think of our picks? What bosses are sorely missing? Because we did not get a chance to play every game this generation. If you enjoyed this list, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you're new so you don't miss new lists in once in a generation, like our continuing top 50 at the end of the month, where we count down the 20 to 11 best games of this generation. And next month, as we continue with our top 10 lists, the top 10 best characters. If you want to get involved even more, consider going to patreon.com/joyclicks, where you can get involved with the channel, influence our decisions, and what we do for content at the $1, $2, and $5 tiers. But until next time, we hope you enjoyed the road to next gen.